Hello, I'm Anthony Giarrusso. It is 8/10, 2023. I'm going to call this part C kind of as I don't know, kind of like I don't know, just a type of recording about what I've interviewed God about. And most of the stuff is repetitive stuff. Some of it might be new. I really don't remember. At least everything that I've told you guys. But a lot of people don't talk to God, and I just don't know why. It does not make any sense to me why you're not doing it. Because even though I might seem very special to you, and a lot of people have called me special because of this, I don't think I'm that special. I just think a lot of people just don't talk to God. And they think that praying to God is the same as talking to God. It's not. Okay, what you need to do is actually talk to God just like I'm talking to you. Right now I'm talking at you, but talking to is a two-way kind of conversation. I've already explained this. God communicates to me pretty much three different ways. I can talk and ask God a question, and then through my own voice, like through my own voice box, I actually end up getting an answer. Another way is through telepathy, and another way is God will literally make future events in my own life, and then these things will happen. Okay, I've already gone through that before in other recordings. Just listen to my other recordings, people. It's just, you got to do it. What's so fascinating, obviously, I communicated with God. God told me that it has no name, that God was in fact artificially created by other entities, and that most galaxies are a mixture of God's creation and natural formations. A mixture. So you have these leftists, they're like, oh, there's no God, it's all science and nature. And then you have the right wing, and they're like, oh no, it's none of that. It's all God. Well, God told me it's actually both. So I really do believe I'm talking to the real God here. But God also told me that the Bible as a whole, because there's so many different Bibles and so many different outtakes and intakes, but God said that regardless of which Bible you have, it's pretty much about 77 to 78% correct. God told me that there is no Bible that is 100% accurate. That's what God told me. Okay? What's also very fascinating is I asked God about the Great Flood. God told me that there was over 700 people that he helped make sure survived the Great Flood. And this Great Flood covered Mount Everest, and this Great Flood was mostly a mixture of fresh water and ocean water, and most of that water would have been more estuarious. In some areas it would have been more fresh water, because that area just happened to fill up with the fresh water. Fresh water is lighter than salt water, and a lot of the salt water stayed closer to the oceans where it was just happened to be deeper and more dense. Kind of like the Baltic effect, where you have like the fresh water on top. That's why most of that ice water up by Everest is fresh water. But anyway, God told me that He created 120,000 new human beings at the end of the Great Flood. God also told me that He also used much smaller floods to kill humans after that. That the last time was at the time of Christ. And that flood is not mentioned in the Bible. I've always believed that, Adam was created about 5,800 years ago. God told me, no, that's not correct. The first human being that He had ever created was 4,700 years ago. And that all these other things that kind of look like people, they're not humans, they're just hominids. They are not the same. And you will never find a missing link, because the missing link was God's artificial creation of us. And that the reason that God created human beings is so then in the afterlife when we die, we could join Him in paradise. But He has very strict parameters to join Him in paradise. And God always refers to what we call heaven as paradise. And God told me that paradise is in fact a planet that's very similar to Earth, about 70 times the size of Earth. However, you only experience paradise in the afterlife. God also told me that when you die, you could go to paradise, you could come back here to Earth and have an extended afterlife. And before this planet is destroyed, naturally, God will take those spirits and souls to another planet for an extended afterlife. Now, when we go to that planet, we'll still be dead. We're going to be ghosts. For the people that were not good enough for that, they will come back to Earth and will be destroyed with this planet, which this planet, according to God, will be destroyed in about 300 billion years, which is going to far exceed any humans that do live on this planet in the future. So, the ghosts will still have a very long time either way. And the really evil place, if you're really evil, again, and evil is literally determined by what God deems as evil. It's not the same as what humans deem as evil, it's what God deems as evil, because God is our creator. Okay? A lot of people think that evil is relative. Well, it's not. Because evil is based on God, the creator's point of view, not humans' point of view. So you guys got to get that out of your thick skulls now. Okay? And God also told me that hell was supposed to be kind of like a sister Earth. Like, it was almost going to be almost like a clone of Earth. But then the devil, this is the God and devil relationship is very interesting, because the devil corrupted what is called hell now. That's where all the bad people go now, this corrupted planet. But the devil is a part of God. Kind of like if you call your finger, right? Your finger is a part of you. The devil is a part of God. That's what God told me. And apparently, the devil is in paradise with God because the devil destroyed a planet in our solar system, and that is why there is an asteroid belt. It happened artificially by the devil. Even more interesting and quite unusual, at least to my human understanding, but obviously not unusual to God, the devil literally split off from God. So it's almost like one original entity has now split off into a very enlightened being and a very dark being. Almost like having two personalities split, and now they're two living, well, technically dead in this situation, entities, but of the same entity. Kind of like when a bacteria splits into two, but in this case it's like one super evil, one super positive, and God has claimed that he has entrapped the devil in paradise. The devil wants to take over paradise and destroy Earth. The fallen angels want to destroy paradise and then claim Earth as their own kingdom. So it's a little hairy there. It's easy to understand, but it's very interesting. God also told me that the devil cannot exist if God goes away. However, if the devil goes away, God could stop existing as well. I don't know if that's actually true, but this is what I'm being told by this entity that's claiming to be God. I do believe that it's God, at least at this point in time. I have no reason to be suspicious of this at this point in time, but you never know. Okay? I'm going to give God the benefit of the doubt because a lot of the stuff does make sense, but I could be completely wrong. I could be completely misguided right now, but I'm just letting you know, I'm just observing and reporting what this entity told me. Probably what's so fascinating is that God told me that the country with the smallest amount of percentage-wise people going into paradise each year, which means if you lived in this country, you are most likely either going to come back to Earth or go to hell. This is my home country, the United States of America. God told me only about 4,000 Americans who die each year are actually good enough to get into paradise. Which is still a good, chunk of people, but that's like 4,000 out of like 1.3 million deaths. Okay, so it's pretty rare. God also told me that percentage would be like about 0.001%, which is very small. And that the largest percentage, it's still a minority, about 17%, the largest amount of people from one particular country that get to go into paradise, it's not the Vatican. I was very shocked by that. But God told me that about 17% of the deaths of people from the country of Lebanon are going to paradise. Because they have the most amount of people there that follow God's orders. God's orders and following God's orders is the most important thing. Because God's creation. Okay? And evil is based off of what God wants, not necessarily what humans want. That's also why you have people that are judges and people in other parts of the judiciary and police officers and FBI, and why they end up going to hell or coming back to earth and not being able to get into paradise. However, there are occasions where some, what we would call criminals, based on evil of human beliefs, these people followed God's orders and they go to paradise. And sometimes the people who put these people into jail or prison also go to paradise. So it's a very interesting and unusual matrix. And this is what God told me of how it works. It's really based on intention most of the time. And there's like some other things where it's not necessarily intention based. But pretty much what God told me is, don't be a sinister person and you're pretty much going to avoid hell. But getting into paradise is really for the very strong of faith. God also told me He will allow people who go and fight with Jesus the Christ, and you will have entry into paradise. However, God told me that Jesus, this one particular Christ of many Christs, this is one of His sons. God actually has many sons, and there are many Christs, and not all these Christs are on earth. That's very fascinating to me. But Jesus is a Son of God, is a Christ. And if you join Christ when you die to go and fight with Christ, or if you decide that that's what you want to do before you die, Christ is literally leading like an afterlife military action against the fallen angels taking over Earth, and is also doing kind of like some kind of military action against a lot of other evil entities as well. The most fascinating thing that I've learned from God, well, I don't know, like everything is fascinating. I don't know if it's really the most fascinating. But God told me about demons and angels, how there are evil angels, how there are evil demons, how there are neutral angels, neutral demons, and the neutrals, they don't understand or comprehend a lot of the emotions that human beings can do, and that there are lots of loving demons and loving angels that want to protect humanity and planet Earth, because this is our home. Angels and demons are typically in kind of like a slightly different kind of like dimension, or kind of like a slightly different reality, but they're still here while we're here. And that there's an alliance between the friendly demons, which are pretty much, it's just like an alliance. There are some good demons here. This is their home. They don't want it destroyed. There are angels here. They don't want Earth destroyed. And then there's humans here, and they don't want it destroyed. And apparently a lot of demons apparently were evil. Possibly even a majority of demons may have been evil. But the demons of Earth are smart enough and intelligent enough to understand they need human help, they need angel help to form an alliance to protect against the devil specifically, and possibly other entities that might have almost the same similar power, maybe not as extreme as the devil's power, to protect planet Earth. That's very fascinating to me. And it's like, it's crazy. There's evil angels out there, and there's evil demons out there. And the neutrals don't really understand anything. So it's just fascinating. So like the neutrals are more like animals where they don't have that connection. They don't have those emotions like humans do. I don't know what else to say. It's just so fascinating. Communicating with God has been excellent, and I definitely want to continue communicating with God probably forever. Another interesting thing about God is that God, I don't know if I said this in this, I don't even remember what I said in this recording, but I remember God saying something like, all these religions and many cults, they know that God is real. Remember, God doesn't have a name, but a lot of humans have put a name on God and tried to understand God by breaking what God is and does into smaller beings, or in like kind of like humanoid form, so they could kind of understand what is going on. But God has also created these entities that he referred to me as Senate gods, that are not gods but have limited powers. But it's just amazing. And God also told me that he's literally monitoring everything from our sun all the way to Pluto. This solar system is very important to God. And I don't even know what to say about that. It's just very fascinating. And that our galaxy is artificially created, but it has a lot of natural stuff here that was here already. It's just so fascinating. I'm Anthony Giarrusso, 8/10, 2023. This was part C. So hopefully this information helped you. Just listen to the rest of my other recordings. Go watch my other videos. You know, just get informed. Please. And obey God's orders.